Good morning, everyone. Good morning to you. I hope you are well wherever in New Zealand and in the world this finds you. So look, good morning. Lovely to have you along here on Solid Ground, where we talk the current affairs of the day from a conservative, Christian, philosophical, good ethical basis. And because it's live, I take your questions and comments. If there's thoughts you have on anything that I'm discussing, or you have questions about something that's happening here in New Zealand or around the world, and you would want me to comment on it, I can't guarantee that I will all the time, but if you'd like me to comment, let me know. The thing to remember as well, of course, is that we host an array of programs here on Family First. You know that obviously Bob does his morning shows on a Monday, Wednesday and Friday, and me here, of course, on a Tuesday and a Thursday. We also do political playback, we've got straight talk. There's just no shortage of shows. So if I can't answer things here, know that I'll do my best to answer them elsewhere. So I can see comments already coming through. So these are accessed through the Family First Facebook page or through its YouTube channel. And yes, it is President's Day in America. And he's also noting, I see, yes, he's also noting double digits for Winston. Yeah, the polls are interesting, and Bob and I will be talking about that on political playback. We've got Darren, good morning to Mike. I see Rosie there as well. Lance telling us it's quite wet and windy in Christchurch. We'll stay warm and dry. We've got Robin there in Hamilton, who can actually see some blue sky. So wonderful to have you along. I better stop there, or I will run out of time. Because I don't know about you guys, I don't know where time goes. And that's a terrible segue for an actually particular reason. I don't know where time goes, because actually I've been in the studio, I always lose the picture of it when I'm here. When I'm in my little, this is where I am. So for those of you who don't know, I broadcast from a tree house here in Auckland, all specced out. I was here bright and early, been here for about an hour. Then all of a sudden I looked at my watch and it's 7:29, so quickly and frantically pressing buttons. But look, lovely to have you along. As I say, time does fly, so I wanted to share this photo. This is Rachel and me. I wanted to start happy. This is Rachel and me, because we are celebrating slightly different days in February, but we are celebrating being 60 and 50. So we've had a little celebration to that effect, and that was she and I before the start of our party. And I have to say, I think we looked relatively the same, probably a bit tireder at the end. But yes, one of us is 60, one of us is 50 this year, and we're also celebrating, get this, our 10th year of marriage. We've been, dating, courting, whatever the right word is. We've known each other for about 15 years, since 2011. Married in 2016, so as I say, this is a 10th year. But yeah, 50 and 60, where does time go, I have to say, and I don't know. And fourth Adam, the wit, where is the, I have to say, something is a bit funny here for me today. It probably is me. Yes, I'm off his tree. Yes, if it was an oak tree, we could say we're off his nut, but no, not an oak tree, acorn, there we go. And good morning to Edmund, lovely to have you along. Hey, look, so that was, I thought, nice news. And yeah, we've got lots of little events planned. I have to say, I won't disclose all of them, but we've got lots of plans, which is, I think, quite lovely. Hey, look, also in good news, this is Honduras. So they are, in South America. Amazing place, I am told. I'm yet to actually get there and visit. But Honduras just had its opening of Parliament, and that in itself is probably not big news to any of you. But you can see the very crudely circled flag there on your right of the screen. I assume it's on your right, maybe it's on your left. But there's a flag circled in purple and pink. That is the pro-life flag. I'll be honest, even though I'm an ardent pro-lifer, I didn't realise we had a pro-life flag, but there is one. And you can see the little feet for boys and girls, a little bit of pink, a little bit of blue. So that was in the Parliament in Honduras as it opened. I mean, what a powerful statement that is, and I think it's just quite amazing, and something I suspect you would not see here in New Zealand Parliament. New Zealand's Parliament has a proclivity to fly all sorts of flags for all sorts of causes, but I don't think at this point in time we will see them flying the pro-life flag. But I think it might actually be worth asking the Speaker of the House if we can do so. There must be International Pro-Life Day. And if there is, people can tell me. And again, you think I would know this, but I don't. Partly because I've got very little time for the United Nations and I'm getting sick and tired of international days of everything. But if there is one, or maybe it's around the March for Life, we actually ask the New Zealand Parliament, like the Honduran Parliament, to fly the pro-life flag. So they fly flags for all other sorts of causes. So yeah, quite remarkable. So I just think that is quite lovely. Switching topics though to things that are getting a little bit crazy, and I just want to signal there's no sound here. Deliberately I've taken the sound off for no other reason than I'm going to keep talking. But this is the Big Gay Out. You can see I've nicked it from Bob's shows. You see the McBlog there. So this is the Big Gay Out in Auckland, and as you can see, it's all cutting off. And I'm just trying to find the main video here so I can replay it when needed. Just absolutely nuts there. And what's happening? I mean, you can see it as this politicians. So these are the politicians who are the biggest, strongest supporters, supposedly, of the LGBTQI plus community. You have the likes of Matt Ducey there, who still is promoting transgender ideology, is still supportive of what I view, and many of us view, as the abuse of children, and supports the use of puberty blockers. He supports, there we go, see if I can get that to go again. There we go. So these politicians are on the stage at the Big Gay Out, a day that is supposedly about tolerance and love and celebrating their community and showing their aroha and peacefulness. And this is happening. So this is some of that community going nuts and trying to storm the stage. As I say, I haven't put the sound on for no other reason than I just want to commentate through it. But they're screaming obscenities, yelling and screaming at these politicians. And so the takeaway is twofold. One is, again, the hypocrisy of what is said versus what actually happens. Now look, that person there and the others that were screaming with her are not representative of absolutely everyone. But it's like that Toitu Te Tiriti protests recently, that they say one thing, but they're actually doing another. And you can see all the signs there, angry people, violent in some ways, screaming, yelling obscenities, while trying to say that this is a day of love and tolerance and support. The second irony is that they get very few politicians to this. I know huge pressure is put down on various parties to turn up, and most MPs don't want to go because they can see the hypocrisy, like this woman here, and the threats to them. But the funniest thing for me, as I was saying earlier, is you have some of the wokest MPs there. And this is happening to them. And the lesson is very salient, you see, because the first set of revolutionaries are always taken out by the second. And what I mean by that is those who have been pushing, politicians and others, the progressive agenda and saying, look, anyone can be anything, anytime, think they're just so radical. But what happens is they're never radical enough. The second set of revolutionaries come through, and there they are there. They're the same people, again, who attend the pro-Hamas rallies, who scream and yell at any elected official they can. They're angry, they're bitter. And again, I just think it's absolutely ironic that the stage is filled with the likes of this minister, highly supportive of the abuse of children through the trans ideology, is now getting abused within where he would have probably thought he should have been welcome. As I keep saying, the first set of revolutionaries are always taken out by the second. And look, it is disappointing. It's gone on well with him on some levels, but he is completely wrong when it comes to trans ideology with children. He used to work at the Tavistock Clinic in London. He's deeply drunk the Kool-Aid on this, and I suspect, I can't prove it, he's been a handbrake on a lot of change that the government potentially could have made to protect children. But again, there's just the irony, isn't there, again, as that just keeps looping around. I'll bring this back. That yes, this supposed festival of love and tolerance and respect and peace is turned into a screaming, shouting match. And look, we see the same when it comes to the pro-Hamas rallies here in New Zealand or what we've seen recently in New South Wales. It's all said to be about peace and love, but it's filled with very angry, often violent people. And look, I don't have slides for this, but I'm actually really pleased to see in Australia the police pushing back against these protesters. I see now they're all complaining that the police pulled away Muslim men praying in the street. I think it was the absolute right thing to do. Again, I don't have footage of it, but in the middle of a protest, radical Imam and some of his followers decided to hit the ground and start praying. And get this, everyone from the Imam's council and others are screaming and yelling about, oh, how terrible it is the police intervened on these men praying. Well, actually, there's about 100 and something mosques in Sydney. One doesn't just hit their knees and start praying in the middle of a major suburban street in the middle of a riot. It is what I mentioned last week, and I think it's so critically important for viewers and listeners to understand this. That is prayer as protest. It is one of at least 3 ways that these radicals attempt to promote and push their agenda and also intimidate people. We've seen it all around the world. Prayer as protest. The bigger the crowds they can get, they claim it's prayerful. I don't believe it at a moment. But we've just got to keep pushing back against this and not accepting the nonsense that's coming through. But again, I thought that at one level was quite funny. This is, again, no sound because it's not needed. This is the this is the European Union that, get this, just voted a few days ago to say that trans women are women. And look at the useful idiots there. These are MPs of the European Parliament clapping like idiots, celebrating that they have just passed effectively a statement that says trans women are women. Now, if you're a biological woman, you should be very concerned about this, particularly if you're in the European Union, because what it means is that according to the European Parliament, they are going to now push to have their laws, their regulations, all their documentation, everything to reflect that reality. In fact, they're wanting to take this statement now to the United Nations to push for the recognition of confused men who think they're women, to push for their rights to be prioritised over biological women. Now, we already know what that means for prisons, for women's sports and so forth. I don't know if you've been following in Australia, a terrible case there where basically a man, I think either he was a rapist or violent sexual assault, all of a sudden claimed he was a woman, was put into a women's prison, and lo and behold, what happened? He attacked and violated women there. But the EU, as I say, has just passed a resolution in effect to say that trans women are women. And look, as I say, at one level, you can think, oops, and I pressed the wrong button, just like that. There we go, I can bring myself back. What it means is it's going to affect all of the work of the European Parliament now. As I said, this will sort of guide so much of their insights, and it's just ridiculous. And as Nigel said, the EU is asleep. And look, again, it's just putting women second. They're going to prioritise the delusions of men who think they're women over actual women. It's quite terrible and quite saddening. And of course, speaking of saddening, and you'll notice the media's gone relatively quiet now, was this case out of Canada last week. This was breaking news as we were talking last week. But this is the man, or the young man, who killed 8, I think, young people and wounded at least 25. Trans-identifying, he thought he was a girl. And look, there's 2 takeaways here, and the first is we should be under no illusion of the problems of mental health here, and it's something that actually we need to confront across society. But we know from the research, we can see over and over again, people with the likes of gender dysphoria are also suffering most often from an array of other mental disorders, or have mental challenges from depression to anxiety. And yet, in these cases here, no one seems to raise a red flag. Here was a young man who thought he was a woman, fascinated by guns, clearly had other mental health issues, because we know now there were multiple call-outs to his home, but no one raised the red flag. And the reason no one did is because this is trans ideology, and it's not to be questioned in any way, shape or form. It's become this sort of ultimate shield or defence. And we know here in New Zealand, there's even a law here, the Conversion Therapies Act, which basically stops you having conversations. So someone like this in New Zealand, we couldn't have a conversation with and say, hey, look, there's probably something wrong with you here, or let's help, rather than coming in from the negative. We want to help. You can't do it. You'd be breaking the law. And yet time and again we're seeing these disturbed young men who think they're women going out and killing people. Okay, this is not just the first example. You can look it up. Of course, the guy who killed Charlie Kirk, same again. Earlier shootings in the last, is it even 18 months? Again, not all of them. I mean, if by absolute numbers, let's be clear, in absolute terms, more mass shootings occur, probably just by men in general. In fact, I think just about all mass shootings are men. There's only the very odd ones that are female. But this is where the second side kicks in. It's the lies of the mainstream media. It's the lies of the mainstream media that you need to identify and we need to call out. So this, I think, actually I can't remember which particular media outlet, it's one of the ones in New Zealand, but going out of their way to describe him as a her. You can see I've highlighted them, gone out of their way. Because if you saw the earlier reporting, they then went out of their way to not use any identifying pronouns at all. At all. In fact, it was the first sign, wasn't it, to each and every one of us that this shooter was likely transgender, is that the police and officials, the media, were dancing around the question of who it was. Remember, they talked about a gun person. I mean, who's ever heard of a gun person? But now that he's been identified as transgender, media are working overtime, absolute overtime, and it's shameful. And it also explains why we just have no trust and should have no trust of mainstream media. Here's Radio New Zealand, one of the worst media outlets we have in New Zealand, and that's saying something. Explicitly saying it's a female shooter. It is a downright lie. And it's why people don't trust the media. It's why media is struggling, collapsing. I mean, this is an American example. We know the Washington Post has laid off hundreds of workers, and a lot of it comes back down to not this particular or specific topic, but again, they lie to you. Bald-faced lies. And we know it, even just intuitively. Someone who picks up the paper goes, generally I don't know of females, actual females going out and killing people. But this is what we're dealing with. They could have said it so much better. You wouldn't even have to go into the black and white of the if you will, the trans ideology. You could just say a trans-identifying man shot 10 people dead. And so, it's just awful. And even notice, I've only looked at it now, see the title there, female shooter 1 of 10 dead. It's almost making an equivalence of the killer with his victims. I hadn't actually thought about that until I just read it now. That's just another staggering insult by Radio New Zealand. An equivalence there between the murderer and his victims. He's 1 of the 10 dead. Well, he killed himself. He committed suicide after killing 9 other people, including, by the way, his mother and brother, and his mother who was falling over herself to affirm him. And he killed her as well, which comes back to the major point. We're dealing with people with major mental health issues. But I thought just a little bit of levity, if you will, in this heavy of topics. This is from the Babylon Bee, which I thought was actually quite funny and pointing out the absolute nonsense, which is this gender ideology that we're having to contend with here in New Zealand. As I say, the Big Gay Out is about a whole, it's quite a wide community. In fact, a lot of the lesbian and gay side would not be happy with the trans side, but put that to the side. It's just so messed up that, again, in New Zealand, these people are trying to storm the stage to attack the politicians who support them most. And here we have in Canada an inability to even just call out the most basic of facts. And of course, we have here in New Zealand, the likes of Radio New Zealand are deliberately lying to you. And as people are noting in the comments, it's our tax dollars that fund RNZ. It's just absolutely stupid, and as many others are pointing out, the shooter's male. Let's just call it for what it is. As I say, you can say he's a male who identifies as transgender. There's so many ways that you can actually be respectful and accept the truth. But you see here with RNZ, they just want to lie. There we go. Needed to get a cup of coffee. By the way, I still got my... we've got to order some more. We've still got our solid ground mugs. Well, I have. I almost broke it the other day leaving the treehouse. That was not good. All right, where are we? So, yes, this is from Brazil. We're all over the world today. This woman, and I've forgotten her name actually, and it's so small I can't read it. Hopefully you can on your screen. But she is before the court at the moment in Brazil. Forget this, for using the wrong pronouns, and I believe saying that men cannot become women. She's studying to be a vet, I understand, and no word of a lie, she faces up to 10 years prison because she believes and has stated that women cannot become men and men cannot become women. I mean, there's something a bit rotten happening, I'm afraid, to say in Brazil at the moment. And as Catherine's saying, poor woman it is. I mean, it's just absolutely terrible. But as others are beginning to point out far more articulately than I am, and I'm sorry we've ended up so much on the trans ideology today, but obviously after what's happened with Canada, the bizarre behaviour at the big gay out, or even more or unusually bizarre behaviour, shall we say, what's happening to this lady, you begin to understand that sort of totalitarian nature of the trans ideology. It cannot stand up by itself. It is just an absurdity, and a lot of it, sadly, as I keep saying, as the experts say, is based on mental illness. But because it can't sustain itself as an ideology, it has to use force. And so that's why people like this young woman in Brazil are facing court time, like Päivi Räsänen in Finland. I've interviewed her before. She's a Finnish MP who's spoken out against the ideology. Same here in New Zealand with conversion therapy. Force has to be applied. And Tamsin's pointing out that this was probably Isadora Borgia? Oh, I should work on my Portuguese, but that's the name of the person, and Tamsin, is saying this was back in 2002. But you can see, if you will, that the totalitarian, that's the word that they're beginning to use, the academics and others pushing back, nature of this ideology. When its arguments don't stand, they basically need to use, in effect, forms of violence. You saw that here in the big gay out. When you think of Billboard, Chris, and the likes around the world, they scream and shout and arrest them. And in this case of Isadora, send her off to court. Same with Päivi Räsänen. They do all and everything to shut you down, and it's absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. As always, very grateful. I'm just going to share that with you again because she is such a beautiful woman, my wife. Love her to bits. And so, yeah, it was happy birthday to her a few days back. And mine, I'm not quite 50 yet. There we go. I've outed who was the 50-year-old and who was the 60-year-old. But I'm not quite 50 yet. And we're joking. Rach and I darkly, well, not darkly, that's wrong. Humorously, there we go. Humorously joke that she's a 60-year-old now married to a man in his 40s, which is strictly true for a few more days. Don't forget, of course, Bob and I write on Substack, so go over to substack.com and look up Bob's name, and to, whatever catches his fancy. I'm writing as well. I haven't got there this week, but that's my latest from last week. So please go and check that out. As you know, you can watch, read, and listen all the content now on our Family First website, which is brilliant. Obviously, the latest podcast is out for Family Matters with Brandon Tylorian. Look, I met him at a conference last year. Very intelligent young man from the UK talking about religious freedom. So go and check all of those out. But in the meantime, guys, I just hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for all the lovely messages which are coming through. Very much appreciated. But you have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you all on, well, it will be Thursday, won't it? When I'm back here on solid ground.